right, episode 102. We're back, Rob.
Back.
We're back.
We are back. Back in business.
Yeah. Off to a rousing
Dramatic pause.
Dramatic pause. All right, so we were on a call today and talking about search, right? Search engine optimization, SEO, SEM, PPC, all sorts of fun acronyms and alphabet soup, right? And this particular client, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say confusion, but there was a little chitter chatter about B2B versus B2C. So business to business versus business to consumer, right? And what they do, we don't have to go into it, but what they do kind of does have applications for both, right? And you brought up a really interesting point of, there's no such thing as B2B anymore. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an idea, right? Sort of the topic of what, is there really even B2B anymore? That type of thing, right? So I thought that could be interesting for today's chat was, hey, there's no such thing as B2B.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a new idea, certainly, but it is a philosophy I would say that I subscribe to more and more.
Yeah. As we go on, right?
Yeah. I mean,
30 years ago, I wouldn't agree with you. Right.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision. You're talking to a person.
Correct. But I would say that the method or the transition of information for a business-to-business channel, right, 30 years ago was vastly different than a consumer channel.
It was more segregated.
Yeah. So, of course, there are still trade magazines, and we get them all the time from random ads we've run, but like timber processing, right? I mean,
event planning. Magazine.
Yeah, meetings today, right? I mean, those aren't,
today,
those aren't on the magazine racks at Tower Records back in the day, nor are they on the magazine racks at, your Publix or whatever today, or wherever magazine racks are left, because I don't know where they are. Maybe at Barnes and Noble, right? So, 30 years ago, there was a clear delineation in terms of the delivery of information. But I do agree with you that, hey, at the end of the day, there's still a person making the decision, right?
Yeah, I think that we're all consumers of one thing or another, or many things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter if you're buying a bolt for your industrial manufacturing
for our
piece of equipment
here,
or if you
Rob's
are buying
a
bottle of Listerine for your Narnar breath.
Okay. For your what kind of breath is that?
Narnar.
What's Narnar breath?
That's gross.
Okay, it's gross.
Kids say. It's how kids say gross.
Narnar.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can also be good though.
Oh, like, dude, that's so gnarnar.
Yeah, gnarly.
That kind of thing?
Gnarly.
Okay. All right.
We're old.
I know. Well, hey, man, I want to bring back radical. I always thought that was a bitchin' term. Like it's rad.
Well, yeah, you remember that movie.
Which movie? Radical? Rad? I don't remember that movie at all.
Dude.
No, skater movie? What was it?
It was a BMX movie.
Okay. Well, I was close.
Classic from the 80s. Anyway, the point being that, like, at the end of the day, we're all consumers, right? And when it comes to marketing, you're always talking to a person, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Sure.
Whatever it is that you're selling or marketing, a service, a product, or whatever, you're always talking to an individual who has the power to make that purchase decision.
Correct.
Whether that purchase decision, again, is a bag of bolts for an industrial piece of equipment or whatever, or a pack of bubble gum.
Yeah.
And I think that people tend to maybe think that B2B marketing traditionally hasn't maybe held as much emotion in it, potentially.
Okay. I thought you might have said the word cachet.
Well, I would say that too.
Right, because traditionally it hasn't nearly been as sexy.
No, it's thought of as industrial and just not just business.
Yeah, our business can help your business do this.
Right, right. And it's lacked that sort of emotional, I think, awareness.
Correct. I would agree.
Or message. And I think that over the past few decades, that has certainly evolved.
Yeah.
And so when we say B2B marketing, to me, it's a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
Only because at the end of the day, you're really talking to a person. And I think, and we have a fair amount of what I guess a lot of people might classify as B2B clients.
Sure.
But I don't really think of them that way. I guess I just tend to think of them more as, we've got to sell industrial coating to the sales guy or the Marcom manager at wherever it is.
Yeah, XYZ.
How do we talk to them about this and create some sort of emotional impact?
Yeah, I agree. It's almost more of a logistical play in regards to, we're trying to sell 50 boxes of goop to one person over there versus 50 boxes of goop to 50 different people.
It is like wholesale versus retail.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way.
No, I agree. There, I mean, and I think that good advertising is going to have an emotional trigger to it, or an emotional sort of aspect, right? It's going to have that hook, right? Theater of the mind, if you will, right? And yeah, it just so happens that you're, purchasing on behalf of your organization, right? Through procurement or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Versus, I'm putting this in my cart and bringing it home with me. The decision of making that purchase, I think, is still remarkably similar between if you're buying 50 boxes or one.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'll roll with the weird analogy that I put forth, which is, okay, if you as an individual are buying a bottle of mouthwash, your pain point is
bad breath.
You have bad breath.
We're going to call it.
Or you just want to make sure you have minty breath. But there's a pain point there.
Sure.
That you are trying to resolve.
Yeah.
And again, the same holds true for a bucket of screws.
Yeah.
The pain point is this screw doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or I need to put this together.
We have to fasten.
We have to do the thing.
Yeah.
And so then, really, the methodology is the same. You find that pain point, and then you come up with a creative way to address it and solve it.
I agree.
And make it less painful.
Yes, and that's what we're here for.
Like a prednisone steroid round.
Yeah. There's an Easter egg in there for somebody.
There is.
All right, I think an interesting overlap, right, since we are kind of talking about overlap, how everyone's a consumer, right, is something we play in a fair amount, which is healthcare, right? It's really interesting in that healthcare is such a strange, from a consumer perspective, we're becoming more and more and more aware of what's going on in our body, but historically we haven't really done that. We've always just kind of listened to our doctor. Oh, our doctor says this, and so you do it,
Trust.
And we've done a lot of biologics and orthopedic sort of devices and things like that, right? And I've always made the joke, like, nobody knows if they're putting a Nike, Puma, or Adidas in their body, right? They just trust their doctor. And all they care about really is recovery time, right? What's the surgery going to be on the front end, and then what's the recovery, right? But nobody knows what you're talking about, bolts and nuts and screws. No one pays attention. Is that Stryker? Is that J&J? We just talked about J&J in the last, no one really pays attention to that stuff, right? But, kind of going off on a little tangent here, but, the overlap now in regards to, we're so inundated with pharmaceutical ads during sports games, and ask your doctor about this, ask your doctor about that, right? And then just self-diagnosis of hitting Dr. Google, right? That there is kind of this weird, I know, which is a terrible idea.
WebMD.
Yeah. Well, all roads lead to death. Yeah, exactly. Or like, surprise, you have cancer. Like, you need to go to the Mayo Clinic immediately, which I shouldn't make a joke about, but I mean, I don't know why that is, but WebMD, it does seem like all roads lead to bad things are happening, right?
Well, it's a CYA.
Yeah, it is. But healthcare, I think, presents an interesting aspect of, it's kind of B2B, but it's kind of B2C, but it's kind of all over the place, right? Because you have to talk to doctors and traditional providers, right? But really, it's all about what's happening with the patient at the end result, right?
Yeah.
And then patients are, even though maybe we're getting dumber, we're also getting smarter in regards to being able to ask our doctor very specific questions, right? Oh, I Googled this. Oh, I looked this up. Or, oh, this drug. Or, oh, that implant. Or this whatever. Or, oh, I need to go get a CAT scan done. Or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's many, what is all that, Rob? Is that B2B? Is that B2C? I mean, I'm the consumer, but then you've got multiple B2B things. I've got Quest Diagnostics. I got my blood work done. It's this weird tangled web of overlap, right?
It's definitely, I think, because of, I would agree with the abundance of information out there. Yes, pharmaceutical companies, we are seeing more ads for everything else, Lunesta, I mean, you name it, Ozempic, whatever, Rybelsus, whatever.
Xarelto.
And it is all in an effort to get patients to start taking charge of their care.
Would you consider that kind of the pull-through of I Want My MTV?
Yeah,
kind of the similar?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, and I think now, we'll withhold names right now, but we're working on a project where, in sort of the diagnostic imaging space, right? And it is this idea that, it used to be I'd go to the doctor and they say I need a CT or scan or MRI or whatever it is. Now what? And they just kind of send you off with a thing.
Yeah, here's a piece of paper and you go.
Let you to kind of fend for yourself to go find it. Or the doctor did have some sort of trusted provider that they would go to. But we're working on a project now where it's, no, here's a big network and here's how we tie into the doctor's office for imaging, but we also talk to the patients in terms of imaging.
Yeah.
So we're offering the exact same service, talking to two different people, talking about it the same in different ways, right?
Yeah.
The benefits to two different people.
Correct.
But at the end of the day,
it's the same service at the end of the day.
It's the same service at the end of the day. One of them, it's just, hey, here's the benefit to the patient, and then here's the benefit to the doctor. So call it a B2B play because you're talking to the doctor's office.
Yeah.
You're really just talking to the doctor, and here's how the service provides the benefit for you in your practice.
Yeah. And then the B2C aspect would be talking to the consumer, right?
Talking to the
which
patient.
Is the patient.
Yeah,
right?
which is, I'm leaving the thing. I've got to get a scan, and here's this leave behind or whatever it is. To go get my imaging done.
So it's really not. I mean, if you consider it the old-fashioned methodology we just outlined, there's these two different paths, but really it's just more target audience. You know, now which feeds into there is no more B2B. It's just here's the benefit for
here's the benefit
audience,
for you,
for
and here's the benefit for you,
Yeah.
and here's the benefit for you. For the doctor, obviously, it's more organized. You can track your patient's progress. You can do all these things. To the patient, it's super easy and trusted, and I can just go down the street. It's right there, and there it is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's certain industries. Might have more overlap than others than this, but again, the vehicle and the channels are all kind of converging around technology, right? Which does kind of create this significant overlap, right? I think pretty soon, if we keep the healthcare methodology going, I think pretty soon, and it already exists, but you're going to see more and more and more and more of, hey, for doctors, for patients, when you go to a website, for a practice, or
pick your path.
Pick the path of what, now it's the same information on the back end. It's just presented in a different manner on like, here's what it means for you, target audience 1. Here's what it means for you, target audience number 2.
Right.
So call them what you will, but they're both just consumer outlets, I guess.
Yeah, you think about all of the outlets now where you can go get prescription drugs.
Yeah. We were just talking about this
this morning, in fact. You can go to Amazon.
Yeah.
And get your drugs from Amazon.
Yeah.
Or you go to rx.com, or you can go wherever. You no longer have to have that, a middleman of a CVS or a pharmacy.
Yeah.
In a physical sense.
Yeah. It's interesting in that it's kind of like, what is it, ophthalmology or eye doctors? It used to be like you get your prescription, but then you take that wherever you want to go.
Right.
Prescription drugs are kind of the same way now, where it's like you don't even have to physically go anywhere. It's just, hey, upload my thing to what XYZ provider, and they're going to mail it to you. Now, I can't wrap my brain around why it's $5 here, $0 there, $50 over here, or $5. You know what I mean? Like that's a topic for a whole other conversation.
That's an insurance conversation.
That's the broken system of insurance. Yeah, exactly. So. We spent a lot of time, interestingly enough, talking about healthcare in this B2B and B2C sort of thing. But it makes sense because of the overlap of everything. So, and being consumers. So, I think it's an interesting point. I think that we are trending more and more towards that, and sort of the lack of hard lines in the water.
Right.
If you would agree with that. So
I would.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
All right. What else? Can we agree on where the people can find us?
That we can all agree on. And that place is the magical internet.
Yeah.
And that's the World Wide Web.
As long as you stay away from WebMD. I shouldn't say that. Maybe we'll be sponsored by WebMD one day.
Who knows?
Feel free to go to WebMD. Check it out.
We love WebMD.
Yeah, that elbow pain you got, it just turns out it's tendonitis. You'll be fine. Tennis elbow.
Mocktheagency.com, of course, and on all the socials where we like to get social.
Yeah.
Be social. At Mock the Agency, of course. And that brings us to the end of 102.
Yeah.
We will see you for V103.
It's going to be awesome.
Fresh.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.